This podcast is brought to you with limited interruption by Rudy Luther Toyota. Whether looking for an exciting brand new Toyota, a certified pre-owned vehicle, or getting quality routine maintenance and service for your vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota is the place to go. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley. Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, in the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the nighttime hours, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Wednesday, your Halloween Eve. Good to have you with us. The scariest thing I could find is Jeff Stein. He'll be joining us here in about a half an hour, and then in the 4 o'clock hour, we here locally have Ghost Box Radio. It's the paranormal, Bigfoot, alien show with Greg Bakun. He's doing his annual Halloween live broadcast on tomorrow night, and so we're going to have him here to talk about that coming up in the 4. Brett is here. Hello, Brett. How are we?
Doing all right. And by the way, speaking of that Ghost Box Radio special, tune in for that. I listened last year, and there was some really creepy stuff that was going on with lights flickering on the stream that they were showing. So it's going to be fun to tune in for, whether you're listening or watching on the social feeds.
I have been told specifically I can't be there because I will crack jokes the entire time. No, I mean, are you sure it's a ghost or just a bad electrical connection? I mean, that's kind of my thing. I mean, it's an old house. I mean, they basically put this together with spit. It's, a flickering light, you say. Okay. Oh, is there a draft too? Wow, can't figure that one out. So I have been told I can't go. But don't trust me. I mean, it's going to be cold here in the Twin Cities, and that means lots of extra Halloween candy for me. Oh, that's right. The last ones that go out the door are the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and you know why? Because those are mine, all righty? That's why.
Why not just buy the bag for yourself? That's what I would do.
Because I'm not a monster. I mean, I'm here for the kids. They'll get the other candy bars first. Hope you like Milk Duds. You and I got to talk about, you and I both like sports, and I love baseball. Have you ever seen what those two freaking knuckleheads down the right field line tried to do last night in that World Series game?
Yeah, this wasn't no Steve Bartman thing that we saw back in Chicago 20 years ago. No, these guys, well, you'll probably set the stage a little more. They were trying to rip the glove off of Mookie Betts, who is the outfielder for the Dodgers, who is trying to catch a ball that drifted into the stands.
That the Yankees have now announced that the two fans, Austin Capabianco, freaking like out of New York typecasting.
Yeah, of course that's his last name.
Capabianco and John Peter have been banned from attending Game 5 Wednesday. Apparently, initially the Yankees had said that they were welcome to come back, which I don't know why anybody would do this. So let me paint the scene for you. It's a foul ball down the right field line. Mookie Betts runs up. He catches it actually. It's not like he's in the stands. He caught it right at the wall. I think it's Capabianco grabs his glove. Now, he has caught the ball. Grabs his glove, starts trying to dig the ball out of the glove. Then Betts, wait a minute here, give me my glove back, to this fan in the stands, reaches up there, and Peter grabs his other arm until Capabianco basically rips the ball out there with a smug look on his face like he did something good. Well, the umpires ran it down and said, fan interference, you're out. It's out. It's an out. And it wasn't out anyway. I mean, he caught the ball, and even before Capabianco tried to rip it out of there, it was clearly a catch. But this is their whole thing, is they feel as if they were just doing what any fan would do, which, by the way, I don't think probably since the 1910s any fan has tried to do something like this. Try to insert themselves into the game and rip the ball out. Well, Major League Baseball got wind of this and said, no. Last night, this is from the Yankees. Last night, two fans were ejected from Yankee Stadium for egregious and unacceptable physical contact with Dodgers outfield Mookie Betts. The safety and security of players and fans and the stadium staff is foundational element of every event held at Yankee Stadium, and it cannot be compromised. Once again, I want to remind you, apparently initially the Yankees had said these guys could come back in. I think Major League Baseball said, oh, heck no, this does not happen.
I saw the social videos, too, of those guys getting escorted out of the ballpark, and they were getting high-fived by everyone.
They're getting high-fived, and they're like, what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? I mean, come on. Tonight marks the final home game of the year and we want every ounce of our fans' passion on display. Yankee Stadium is known as for its energy and intensity, blah, 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 blah. Yankees and Major League Baseball maintain a zero-tolerance policy towards the type of behavior displayed last night. Well, at least now they do. These fans will not be permitted to attend tonight's game in any capacity. They should not be allowed into any Major League Baseball park from here on out. The Yankee statement on the fans came an hour after ESPN reported that Major League Baseball had asked the Yankees, I think that's the foggy term, to ban the fans for Game 5. Capobianco and Peter were called for fan interference in the first inning of the 11-4 win for the Yankees. Stadium bans typically follow incidents of fan interference, but Capobianco and Peter told Jesse Rogers of ESPN that the Yankees said they'd be able to return to their seats for Game 5 on Wednesday night. Capobianco also told Rogers that he and the fans who sit in the area like to joke about patrolling the area and playing defense. We always joke, hey, TJ, it's a New York guy. Hey, we always joke about the ball in our area. Capobianco, 38, said at a local bar after the game, we're not going to go out of our way to attack. If it's in our area, we're going to D up. You're not a player, oh my God. You're going to D up. What are you talking about, you idiot? They act like this happens all the time. It does not happen all the time. And once again, he caught the ball on the field. They grab his glove and yank it into the stands. Someone defends, someone knocks the ball. We talk about it. We're willing to do this. Well, I guarantee you, considering the cost of those seats, no one else is willing to do this now because that means an instant you're gone. After the Yankees announced the ban, Capobianco told Rogers that the Yankees called him Wednesday morning, told him he and Peter would be arrested if they either attempted to enter the game for Game 5. He doesn't know how long the ban will be. You can't allow these clowns to get back into the stadium. You cannot allow these clowns to get back in the stadium. You cannot allow that. I'm stunned the Yankees thought this was a good idea. I mean, the Bartman incident with the Cubs, I mean, he was gone, he was banned almost instantly, and he was a pariah forever. These guys, hey, I get all my drinks for free because of this. I mean, what are you doing? And shame on ESPN because that ESPN reporter first kind of started talking about like these guys like they were local heroes. You can't do that. You cannot encourage this fan base. Let's run the fan bases. Philly, New York, Boston, L.A., San Francisco for sure. The Cubs. I would say the Cubs. I mean, who are any other ones that are really obnoxious fan bases?
I think you pretty much summed them all up.
I think
all the East Coast team. Maybe the Mets, too.
Yeah, the Mets. Yeah, you got to throw the Mets on in there. Yeah, I would say that those are the ones. Can you imagine what it would be like if you do not take the harshest tone towards these guys? Jeez. If you would have let them back into the game. If you would have let them back into tonight's game. I mean, people would be bringing nets to the game. They're trying to get the ball off the field. Oh, like some kind of beer league in Asheville, North Carolina, man. That's what that would be like.
Did you say they got banned in every major league ballpark, or was that just for tonight?
Well, I can't believe MLB, I imagine, is looking at this and saying, okay, you guys are gone. I got to believe this was – Bartman's ball was quaint compared to this. This was a mugging. This is like what the WNBA did to the Minnesota Lynx at the end of that championship game. That was a mugging. They basically ripped it. It was a theft. So yeah, I as a baseball fan, I will Yeah, you can't let those guys back.
I'm curious. How do you prevent these guys from coming in? Do they have like pictures posted,
Yeah.
like want posters around? Oh, really?
Well, in a lot of these places,
Okay.
you'd be surprised that facial identity software has been in use for a while now.
Oh, that
and,
yeah.
and especially anything that's considered a private area, even though they get tons of taxpayer dollars to build it. Yeah, they would get caught. And plus, reminder, I mean, if you go to like the Yankees game, I imagine the security check-in is pretty intense for that game. I mean, that's going to be like an NFL football game where they're patting you down and checking all your pockets and everything like that and making you take your hoodie off and everything. So it's not like they could sneak in with sunglasses or something like that.
I was thinking, yeah, they get a buddy to buy them tickets and they go in under his name. Yeah, wear glasses. Yeah. Try to, yeah.
Would I put it past them? Not in the least.
Well, his last name is what again? Cappuccino or whatever?
Capabianco. Capabianco. If Capabianco, I could see these two idiots saying, "Hey, I didn't realize I thought you meant those seats." So, I just came in anyone else. Apparently, yeah. So, anyway, 952-946-6205. I've never seen anything like that. Come on. And by the way, both of those guys looked exactly like out of New York City typecasting. I mean, seriously, get me a loser at a Yankees game. Capabianco comes to mind right away. 952-946-6205. Two things I want to get to before I get to the break. The first is that this just came on out that Trump is not going to be attending the Penn State game with Ohio State. Now, I think it would be a bad idea for him to do that because as opposed to like Alabama or Mississippi State, State College, Pennsylvania, in the dead square center of Pennsylvania is a blue county. And I do not think you want to go there because I do not think they are going to welcome you like it's the Crimson Tide.
It'll be like when Trump, remember when he did the World Series in Washington, D.C. and got booed out of the stadium?
But the fact that he's not going now, I think that actually tells me he knows Pennsylvania's gone. I think he knows. As a matter of fact, polling out today where it's not weighted towards the Republicans. Funny story. It's polling out today shows that Harris has got a firm lead in Wisconsin, Michigan, and it sounds like Pennsylvania is looking pretty good for them as well. The other thing I wanted to mention today is this asinine argument against Joe Biden. Because last night, if you were like me, all of a sudden all the Republicans had their undies in a bunch because Joe Biden said we were garbage. Now, here's what I posted, and you can find this online. Trump Republicans the last years, Democrats are communists, Marxists, socialists, baby murderers, sex ring operators, vampires, the Antichrist demons, the enemy within, druggies, cucks, groomers, pedophiles, Nazis trying to destroy America, need safe places, terrorists, support anti-American terrorism, forcing sex changes on others, second-class humans, destroying our way of life, trying to murder us all, and garbage, and they all need to be stopped. Republicans have no problem, and the news media had no problem with that. Biden says this, how dare Biden attack us? And the national news medium, whatever happened to decorum and decency? Shut up. Your bias is showing. It's the Matt McNeil Show. It is the Matt McNeil Show. During that commercial break, I had to run into the studio, the producer pit there, to rip a Hot Pocket out of Brett's hand. That's mine now. I got to put up the D, man. In the history of knuckleheaded things, that actually beats the streakers, man. Remember when you used to get that? We don't get that much anymore. But the guy dropping trowel and off they go for a run across the football field, only to get planted into the ground by a 400-pound lineman. You've got your few minutes of fame there, Eddie. But
I like that. Put up your D thing. I got to use that, yeah.
Got to put up your D, man. Got to get me that Hot Pocket. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Okay, so do you remember when that Republican that was running for senator in Delaware had to actually come on out right before the campaign and say, I'm not a witch? You know, there are signs your campaign is not going well. If you have to come on out and say, I'm not a witch, prior to the election, yeah, I think you've lost the messaging game. I just, that's, my, not my expert opinion, but, I don't think things are going too well for you at that point. Trump insisted, I'm not Hitler. And I think you're losing the messaging game. During closing arguments of his 2024 campaign at a Wednesday rally in North Carolina, Trump complained he had been called names by Vice President Kamala Harris and her supporters. The same man, let me, if I just may here, same man for 9 years has called, and Republicans have called the Democrats commies, Marxists, socialists, baby murderers, sex ring operators, vampires, the Antichrist, demons, enemy from within, druggies, cucks, groomers, pedophiles, Nazis, trying to destroy America, need safe spaces, terrorists, supporting anti-American terrorists, forcing check changes on others, second-class humans, destroying our way of life, trying to murder you all, and garbage. They have described us as this, but all of a sudden, the Democrats are hurting my feelings. Oh, please, you blubbering orange mass of goo. You might actually have done better with that as your campaign line. Blubbering, massive, orange mass of goo. For the past 9 years, Kamala and her party have called us racist, bigots, fascists, deplorables, irredeemables, Nazis, and they've called me Hitler. Yeah, guilty as charged. When you stop cosplaying them, if I see a guy with Spock ears on, I'm going to say, you're a fan of Star Trek, I see. I see you guys talking about mass deportations and second-class citizens. Yeah, I feel comfortable calling you guys what I've called you. Harris has not called Trump a Nazi or compared him to Hitler, but has said she'd be considered authoritarian, as CNN fact-checkers pointed out. Trump claimed that his father had told him to never use the word Nazi and never use the word Hitler. Now we're called Nazis and I'm called Hitler, he complained. I'm not Hitler. I'm not a witch. Trump then suggested that his father might not have gone to heaven because he was a little rough. Jesus, that's what it became a counseling moment. I told him for years, literally, never use the term Hitler or Nazi, the former president said of his father. Now they're using it on us. It's unbelievable. They bullied you, they've demeaned us, they've demonized us and censored us and deplatformed us and weaponized the power of our own government against us, he told the crowd before calling journalists in the room scum. God, he doesn't even see it, does he? Well, he does. He's never had anyone hold him accountable. Melania Trump has also said her husband is not Hitler. Yeah, that, and by the way, in that accent, sure. Okay. Oh, gosh. You know, you guys are a bunch of freaking knuckleheads. That's what you are. And what is amazing to me, and we got a full half hour of Stein coming up here to talk about politics and this election, because we're going to have him on. We're going to do some live coverage here locally, and I'll have him on then. But the next time we talk is after the election, and we might know who's the winner at that point. But it's clear that when Kamala Harris and her campaign team did a very smart thing, they basically didn't look at taking on Trump, but they went to take on what Trump represents, which is negativity, anger, vitriol, darkness. That's what Trump is. And they came out as like, we're going to be light, we're going to be happiness, we're going to be joy. That's what we're going to be. And where this became a bit of brilliant campaigning was that Trump himself, they tried. Do you remember they tried? We're happy, guys. Yeah. You know, sometimes I let the squirrel I'm throwing rocks at go. You know, that sort of thing. They tried pathetically to say we're actually the happiness and joyful. And their campaign team came to realize this is never going to work. You're never going to be there. I mean, when he tried to appeal to women, it's like, I'm your defender. I'm your defender. Dear Lord, did anyone buy that? No. The Trump team basically played right into Kamala Harris's hands, and they've gotten darker and darker and darker and darker. I swear to God, I think Monday for the Trump team might just be a bunch of golems screaming, ah! that's going to be the entire Monday of the election, because that's all they've got. I mean, and they've ramped up their vitriol so much. I mean, that whole thing in Madison Square Garden, it was hate, anger, frustration personified. It was, Stephen Miller came on out and said, America for Americans, which is an exact copy of Germany for Germans, which is Hitler, what he used at his rallies. They knew what they were doing. They used Nazi references. They went in every bad thing. And so, once again, as these guys are talking about, how dare Joe Biden say we're garbage? Have you guys heard anything of what the Republicans have said? Go listen to 5 minutes of that rally. And listen to the crowd applaud all of it. Yeah, they're garbage. I'll say it. I don't have any problem freaking saying it. You know, it's amazing how badly this has gone for him, because whether or not he's intentionally or unintentionally gotten to this point, he sounds authoritative like Hitler. He sounds that way. And God help us all if this man gets anywhere near the White House again. And I get it. There are some people out there that are scared. It's like, after this election, the Republicans are going to try every dirty trick in the book, and let them. You know, and I do have faith in the fact that I think this is going to be a landslide. I honestly do. I think this is going to be an overwhelming caboose kicking. And I think there gets to be a point where the numbers are so bad for them that they for them to basically throw out the election would be to basically encourage the end of the Republican Party as a whole, because they would not survive that. But needless to say, yeah, this is where we're at. So the guy that says, you know, hey, you might get confused. You might be, I'm not a Nazi and I'm not Hitler. You got that guy and Kamala Harris. This isn't difficult, is it? It's not. Jeff Stein when we come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Jeff. J-E-F-F Jeff. J-E-F-F Jeff. J-E-F-F Jeff.
Jeff Stein's our national and presidential expert, noted author. You can find his books at your favorite book retailer. The Iowa Business Report, the Iowa Politics Report, they come to us courtesy of KXEL Cedar Falls, Waterloo, where Jeff is currently interred. Hello, Jeff.
Interred? Services were pending, and now he's been interred. Okay.
Well,
feels like it, but why not?
You know, it's a work release thing.
You are a spooky one, aren't you?
Oh, I am the spooky one. It is Halloween. So I did see this thing. I want to ask you about this, because they said in Des Moines, because of the rain, trick-or-treaters were going to go on Halloween, which for most of us in the country are like, what? Isn't they go out on Halloween anyway?
Well, Matthew, it's nice of you to promote IowaAlmanac.com, because today's story tells you about how in 1938 they switched Beggar's Night to the 30th because a bunch of hooligans had gone through and done bad things. And they literally expect you to do a trick before you get the treat. It is a tradition unlike any other, and it's always on the 30th. And I think the thought was that people would get it out of their systems before the night where they were hauling people to the hoosgow, because, again, we're going back to the 30s here. The paddy wagon came up and took scofflaws to the hoosgow. But, yes, it has always been the 30th in Des Moines, and it is now postponed for the first time ever until actual Halloween night. So there you go, IowaAlmanac.com, and you can hear me tell that story.
So basically the argument is, hey, instead of having everyone do all the bad things on the 31st, let's move it to the 30th and let them really get a 2-day event in.
Well, you get the sugar high on the 30th. Maybe you crash on the 31st.
I see.
Yeah. It's not my idea. I just report the story. That's all.
Yeah, and it's gone so well for Detroit. And just it's they still have those problems out there, don't they? What is it, Devil's Night? They do that thing out there.
You know, whenever I think Des Moines, I immediately get it mixed up with Detroit too.
Well, that's
just like
Well, better corn. Better corn in Iowa.
Better corn.
It is.
Sure.
Okay, so we have. I want to just first of all talk about the two rallies, the New York City rally with Trump, which, and I'll just go with this. You've been in politics a long time. Your final message. I mean, this is going to be your last big thing. And it sounds like what's interesting is Trump is bailing on being at the Penn State-Ohio State game coming up here this weekend. So, he's going to be doing some rallies and stuff, but nothing of the magnitude probably of Madison Square Garden. You're looking to put that final message out there. Whoever put that final message together probably needs to get fired because the message that came off that rally was anything but, hey, this is a unity party, should feel comfortable. It was scare, fear, demagoguery, and it was horrible.
It went on for so long.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I really consumed very little of any of it because, I've covered this stuff for 44 years. I'm a little jaded, and it's all the same. The tradition is that when you start your campaign, you define yourself. Then you try to define your opponent, and then you come home with a positive message about you, because people respond better to a positive message than a negative one. The Trump rally went on for, 6 hours. I mean, literally something like that. It was just an extended period of time. And whoever assembled the guest list, the speakers list, should have been fired by Sunday night.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand putting a comedian on there anyway. And, especially one who thinks he's the modern day coming of Don Rickles. That act wouldn't fly today, and it sure doesn't. Hey, I know, let's hire the guy who does the profane roasts on Comedy Central. What a good idea. If the joke is so nuanced you have to explain it and refer to Wikipedia, no, stupid. Then you have a New York radio host who is just working his tail off to get a national gig and then says what he says about self-hating Jews or whatever. That's a great plan. I mean, if you take those messengers out, you had a pretty consistent, albeit still scattershot, approach. For a messenger who is always all over the place, namely Trump, crystallizing it down to, now you may disagree with the premise, but you have to admit the slogan is at least memorable. She broke it, Trump will fix it. Okay, now again, you can quibble on the merits. But if the idea was to focus on Trump will fix it, that's not a bad message, but it was completely lost, was it not?
Well,
in all of the other stuff?
Can I just say this? That little message you put out, I really haven't heard that message. I know that that's something he's probably said behind the scenes, but as you just said, he's so scattershot that if that was the message, I think this race would be in a little bit closer for sure. If she broke it, I'm going to fix
here's
it.
Why.
And
you're right. He came upon it just out of the blue. It just seemed like it just spontaneously came up, and it was for the first time Sunday on the podium placard. Trump will fix it. People in the stands had cards that said Trump will fix it. That, however they came upon it, that was the closing statement. That was what was going to just really be memorable. And it just blew up.
Well, and that should have been the statement from the beginning, because I can tell you right, mass deportations now at the RNC didn't really, that was a negative too. And it wasn't.
It's hard to fit deportations on a sign.
Yeah,
it's just too long a word.
The comedian not only makes the comment about Puerto Rico, but he also, that comment about watermelon and African Americans was pretty offensive. As well as the other one. The one guy that called Kamala the Antichrist, Hulk Hogan, basically implied that she was going to have sex workers. It was just a horrible message. And the problem that they had, I think, afterwards was they try their hardest to come on out and say, wasn't that great? And the reality is no one was buying it was great. And the fact that they quickly went on the defensive, especially about the Puerto Rico joke, and it's not a joke, the Puerto Rico line, which wasn't a joke, it was actually incredibly insensitive, and tried to make that sort of, that was no big deal. I mean, it was some horrific planning, which really, at this point, this isn't February. This is late October. How is this? They are really, really bad at this. And we've said this before. A lot of this is the fact that he's installed his cronies, his family into these positions. And you need to have people that are not just going to be yes men to tell you, dear Lord, you probably shouldn't do that because that's going to send a bad message.
The problem, as I can tell from the outside of the Sunday event, was I think the Madison Square Garden approach was fine. I think the New York kid comes back to New York, fine. I mean, it has no impact. It's fine, right? Who needs a 6-hour event? You have to say no to some of the people. I mean, you don't need every single person who ever endorsed you to speak at the event. And the list, when they sent, the campaign sends out news releases. Yeah, I get them from both sides. Yeah. All right, so here's the list of speakers, and I'm like, I'm scrolling. I'm like, oh my God, pack a lunch. Did you have a cut of the concessions? Because this is clearly going to straddle all 3 NFL games, which actually it did, come to think of it. So the biggest mistake was you've got to say no. Now, do you need a little showmanship of having Hulk Hogan dance around the stage a little bit? Fine. Why does he need to speak? Doesn't. I get why you want to have, your traveling roadshow of Kennedy and Gabbard and Carlson. I get that. But it just, as is the case with most of the Trump rallies, and SNL has tagged it perfectly a couple of times this fall, they go on so long, by the time the main attraction is there, you just go home. You're just tired. It's like, I don't need 58 previews before the movie. Just give me the movie. And they just don't. Somebody does not have that discipline. I don't know where it comes from. It might come from the top, because as we've discussed before, with all due respect to Mr. Trump, I don't think he listens to anyone's counsel but his own.
No, I would agree with that. And I think that after that debacle in Michigan, where everyone was freezing out there, I think to a point, part of this was, we've got an indoor venue. We can go as long as we want.
But that's where they pass out, because the doors are closed.
Let's contrast this with Kamala Harris. That rally last night in D.C. on the spot where Trump basically pointed at the Capitol and said, "Go get him." Goes on out there, 75,000 by accounts, a massive crowd, regardless. But not only this, as you just kind of comparing to what you just said. She goes down to Houston, has that 30,000 person rally with Beyonce out there. And it's not 15 speakers. There might be 1 or 2 people set up that are local, the local races. Here comes Beyonce. Here comes Kamala. Everyone have a nice time. Drive safe. And they do that. Her campaign messaging at these rallies, I think, has been fairly, it's been consistent to what we've seen in the past, which compared to Trump now looks like a masterstroke. But the reality is this is how they always used to do it, is what she's doing right now.
The Beyonce thing. Her campaign people led folks to believe that Beyonce was coming to the DNC to hype the TV ratings, saying there'd be a special guest, then no Beyonce, and then they said afterwards, well, Kamala was the special guest. Didn't you understand that? No, we didn't. And they dissuaded no one from, and now, there's not a sentence where they say, Beyonce will sing. But that was the impression. And so when people see that,
they're thinking it's going to be, Coachella. Because that's what you think about when Beyonce shows up for an event. It's like Taylor Swift is going to be here. You're either going to see her next to Travis Kelce, or you're going to see her with the top hat and the sequins out on the stage. And the reality is that you want to know the truth is I thought it was a nice message. Yes, she did not. She came out very kind of like, this is why I'm doing this. To a point, I get what you're saying. To another point is, well, these are all people. They're just regular people as well, in a sense, being they're just voters as well. And so I get that, but I don't have any problem with it because, once again, 30,000 people, and it was packed, as I think Trump at that same time was having a rally in Georgia, which by the time they got 1 hour into his speech, it was 1/3 empty because it went past the what was the college football game. That was he did the rally at State College, Pennsylvania. That's right.
On Saturday.
Right. That's right.
And it went into the Penn State game.
And they all left.
And well, now here's the thing. First of all, the fact that you say top hat and sequins means you know way too much about Taylor Swift concerts.
I've got one teenage girl left. The other girl is 20. I know Taylor Swift, and frankly, I'm offended. I love Tay-Tay. Thank you very much.
Oh, shake it off. So.
Listen. Oh, Mr. Subtle there. I can see your bedroom's covered in posters.
That may well be, but it has nothing to do with it. Okay, so the problem is, Ms. Knowles Carter, Beyonce,
yes,
presented a very good message.
Yes.
The problem was there were a ton of chuckleheads there who thought they were getting a free concert and started just railing on the socials and booing and doing all of this when that didn't happen.
It was minor. That was minor.
Well,
there's a little bit of that, but that wasn't by any means, as a person who's on the left and has got a lot of people that fall on the left, there were one or two people, but most people were like, it was wonderful. So,
but here's what I said about it earlier in the week, because I did a piece where I pointed out, if you're Trump, you can do Joe Rogan, but you don't leave people in the cold in Michigan for 2 hours. You don't overlap the Penn State rally. If you're Kamala Harris's campaign and you already had the little stumble with Beyonce once, you be real careful when you do have Bruce Springsteen singing and you do have Willie Nelson singing and then say, oh yeah, and Beyonce, don't lead, because the election is too close for any misstep to be made.
But
now, it's very possible.
Okay. You're okay, and I got to stop you. Your misstep is, they thought that Beyonce was going to sing. He's out there cosplaying freaking Hitler. And when Stephen Miller comes out and says America for Americans, I mean, that's a direct quote that's just been translated.
You've misstated what I very clearly said. You don't make that mistake if you're her campaign, because it's too close. These are unforced errors, as I termed them all on the air this week, both sides. I am not going down the Hitler and fascist road because I don't believe in that kind of pejorative language. If you want to get to what people said, that's entirely different. But now you can't merge the two topics.
I got to take a break. We come on back. It's Jeff Stein joining the Matt McNeil Show. Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, in the nighttime hours 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle, and in the afternoons on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Jeff Stein joining us here. Now, Jeff, the reason why I kind of reacted the way I did on that is bluntly this. I'm watching today all these people saying, President Biden called the voters garbage. Isn't he horrible? It's like, have you heard what you've said to every Democrat the last 9 years? It's and the national news media going ballistic about this is a joke. As a matter of fact, I mean, I made up a list of things that they have said, Antichrist, demons, enemy within, druggies, groomers, pedophiles, Nazis. They've called the Democrats Nazis. They've called these things, and they've used garbage. As a matter of fact, the Lincoln Project has a video up right now of Trump in September calling all Democrats garbage. And yet nobody had a problem with that. And all of a sudden, Joe Biden says it in response to Republicans calling Puerto Rico garbage, and then Donald Trump calling America the garbage can. And he says it, and it's kind of one of those things where it's this is somehow out of line, and this is fine. They might have screwed up in the sense being that people were thinking Beyonce was going to be there, but that's not, I think, necessarily a massive hit to where it's going to be like, oh, she's going to lose voters that way. I think insulting Puerto Rico, I mean, I think the reason why he's bailing on Pennsylvania right now is the strong Puerto Rican population in Pennsylvania has basically instantaneously turned him against him. I think that's a far bigger problem for Trump than anything about Beyonce performing or not performing in Houston.
Well, you're talking about two very different things. They don't have to be merged. Both can be correct. The shadow senator from Puerto Rico came to Pennsylvania and endorsed Trump after the comments. I think both sides. I mean, I'm tired of both sides because of the fact that what's dominating conversation, not news coverage, because that's already lost. We just don't have any good coverage of these things. It's all 30 seconds at best. Gotcha. But just even in conversation, people are talking. They're not talking about issues. They're talking about the personality things. They're talking about the comments that somebody makes or somebody else. I couldn't give two whits if Joe Biden said what Joe Biden said or didn't say. Take any of the transcript. I've listened to it 15 times literally because I'm trying to hear what was said. You can't take one sentence out of a 4-minute statement. It makes no difference in terms of who should be the leader of the free world. And the fact that they all dive in, it's like, how about just talking about what anybody will do in office? Start with that. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good place to start because, frankly, the distinctions between these two candidates on issues alone, biggest difference in generations. And then you put the personality in on top of it. But start with the issues.
Well, and for me, I see this bias, particularly in the news media, which is so obscene that, and we've talked about this. The bar for Trump is so low that it doesn't even matter. Harris, sure, she gave her agricultural plan, but it didn't include enough on collard greens and peaches and pecans and wild rice. How dare you not have a fully flushed out plan? And you're like, dear God, this can't be the standard we have. That everything has to be 1,000%, or as Van Jones said, she has to be flawless. Trump can be lawless. That was a good line. But that's the truth. That's how it's perceived.
And Van Jones, who I had the privilege of talking to years ago about the prison project. To me, he's an honest broker. He gets whipped around from both sides of that CNN stage because he'll give credit, and I think he did during the RNC about, okay, they pulled this off pretty well. So I find him to be generally an honest broker, although very clear about his views. The whole thing has just gone off the rails so much, to the point that all the early voting means is you're getting all of the confirmed people on both sides in, but all this stuff the last 10 days, it's going to turn off people who are moderately interested. And if we lose the middle of the nation participating because they're fed up with either the media or social media or the candidates or whatever, you've lost the country.
This is our last show before we will have a post-election, and whether or not we'll be able to announce who the winner is next Wednesday will remain to be seen. Yeah. But, I'll put mine out there, but I'll put yours out there. What do you expect to happen on election? Once this is all done and all the votes are counted, who do you think is going to win this election?
Oh, boy. I did the numbers to 270 the other day. I think the path to 270, when I did that on Sunday, was Trump. I don't know that we can tell right now. I honestly cannot tell you how this is going to turn out. I will tell you that once we know Pennsylvania, I think that's going to be the outcome. I think Pennsylvania will be the bellwether because if Trump does not flip Pennsylvania back, the path is virtually impossible.
And the fact that he's not doing an event in Pennsylvania this weekend is a sign. I disagree with that. I think this is wholeheartedly. I'm frankly, once again, we have to point out that since 2022, since Roe v. Wade was overturned, every pollster has undercounted the Democratic majority in margins by 5 to 15 points. It's been consistent across the board. I think that this is not only going to be – I think North Carolina is going to go for Harris. I think Georgia is going to go for Harris. And the question I have is, will both Texas and Florida go for Harris? I think Florida will. I don't think Texas will. I think this is going to be a rout. And the good news is – I'm dead serious. I think Nevada, Arizona, I think all the swing states outside of maybe one or two go for Harris. And I think that this will be three – she'll be in the 300s as far as this count, and it's over.
Well, keep in mind, last time Biden was at 305, you adjust it for the changes since in the Electoral College, that would be 303. So if she's at that level, that's similar to the Biden-Harris win. I'm interested in the story that she is moving $2 million of ad buys out of North Carolina.
She's not. Actually, that's not true. Actually,
because it made no sense to me. That's why I thought, okay, are you moving it to another state or somewhere else?
That's right-wing talking points. And by the way, I knew that was false when all of a sudden I had 5 different people posting, "Oh, she's moving money out." I'm like, okay, no, they're not. They're actually there. The reality is,
I saw it on CBS, which I don't think is right-wing talking points, so they hopefully have corrected that.
No, that's she's not moving money out, that she's staying there. But I will say, too, that you can't have Robinson. The last poll I saw, his minus 21 on that governor's race. So you're saying 22% of the population of North Carolina is going to vote for the Democratic governor but vote for Trump? You and I talked about historic margins before on that one.
Yeah.
I think that would be beyond the pale. Obviously, I'll get out your Iowa politics report a little bit later on. I imagine it's got some good stuff in there, and the Iowa business report as well. No, not really.
No, not really.
Happy Halloween, my friend. We will talk to you on Tuesday night, election night. Bye, Chicago, Seattle, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hour 2 up next. Hour number 2 of the show here on your Wednesday. No, I just listening to the freaking news at the top of the hour. I mean, for God's sakes, how many times? I mean, God, just the double standard in this country. Donald Trump constantly insults, constantly demeans, constantly name calls, constantly does this, and they don't even bat an eye. Joe Biden, in response to them calling Puerto Rico garbage and America a garbage can, says his supporters are garbage, part of a longer statement. They take it out of context, and now it's driving the news cycle. How can Joe Biden be so mean? Now here's Donald Trump talking about how you're all pedos. It just blows my mind. And one of the things I was going to say last hour and I didn't get the time to, when you look at these coward newspapers who know they want to endorse Trump. But this is not about, when they say we don't want to endorse anyone, they know it will cause a massive backlash if they actually endorse Trump. And so when they say, well, we're not going to endorse anyone, what they're saying is we were going to endorse Trump, but we know that that's going to hurt us, so we basically are trying to act like we're not going to do it. A lot of people say it's like they wanted to endorse Harris and they didn't give her the endorsement. No, I actually think the Washington Post, the LA Times, I think their owners wanted to endorse Trump. And the owners realized, well, if we do that, that's the end of our subscription base, and it's not done too well for the Post as it is anyway. But, yeah, no, I'm just so freaking tired of this unbelievable double standard that as long as Trump is standing up and only drooling half the time he's talking, that somehow he's presidential. And Kamala Harris, even if someone in her universe says something which taken out of context can be used and weaponized, well, then they're equal. Bull, man. Freaking fascists and Nazis on one side, and then there's Kamala Harris. This is not a debate, is it? I would hope not.
And it wasn't even Kamala Harris that made those comments. It was Joe Biden, who's not running for president.
But, I mean, she clearly approved his speech. That's their argument. I don't know. Halloween costumes. Well, yeah, no, what they're doing, the news media is doing their bidding there. They are, even though this is Joe Biden, they are the ones who are saying Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Like that's the case. I mean, it just, dear God. Donald Trump brings on a comedian who makes all those offensive comments, and his excuse is, I have no idea who it is. Like it was just some guy that roamed in off the street and started doing an opening set. And that's good. He says he doesn't know. Yeah. It is, get out and vote. Let's pants this clown. Can we just pants this clown? And if we make this a big enough election, I'm sorry. If this is a big enough election, there is not going to be a attempt to try to send it to the House. There won't be. They realize it's over. And the only way that happens is everyone votes. And you need to call everyone you know. I already have. You need to go out there and encourage everyone you know to go and vote. And, yeah, please. Just please. And if you've not voted, make sure you either vote early or get to the polls. Please do. 952-946-6205. The Halloween is tomorrow. We got Bakun coming in here. He's doing his ghosty ghost thing with his live show. How long is he live for tomorrow night?
4 hours.
Starting at what, 7?
7 o'clock until 11 p.m.
Wow. Well, if you enter the dark dimension void, good luck with all that. He is then not going to be doing the trick-or-treating. I know whose house is getting egged. We have the most popular costumes this time around in 2024, and for all the groups. Okay, first of all for the girls. Although we're going to see it's supposed to be cold tomorrow night. It's supposed to snow north of us. Might be a few flakes down here, but it's. I don't think you're going to see anyone that's not wearing heavy duty winter gear. But Hermione Granger still the most popular. The Inside Out characters are pretty good, although I don't think that looks a little summery. I think that's like a Southern state kind of outfit. Same thing with Moana. Bluey is there. Nothing wrong with Bluey. And then, of course, you have Elsa, Minions. Those are the girls. Boys, this has been the same. It's Spider-Man. I mean, my gosh. I mean, Spider-Man has been for a long time.
Yeah, it seems like forever. That's been Spider-Man.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Knuckles, I guess, is from Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm surprised on that one.
And Optimus Prime. These are bought costumes. These are not like we did as a kid, where it's like, here you go, you're a hunter. Here you are, you're a fisherman. I got those every year. Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and then a Minion. So Minion showing up in 2. For the ladies, Taylor Swift costumes are apparently a big deal this year. Also, and I saw this, I went over to a Spirit Halloween because there's like one every block now in this country. Nightmare Before Christmas, the Sally character from Nightmare Before Christmas. That's when you see a lot of. The Wicked Witch, the Wicked characters. You're seeing those be popular this year. And then, of course, Harley Quinn costumes, which have always been there. And for the dudes, Deadpool, Wolverine, an alien xenomorph costume. Really? The Ghostbusters, the villain from the latest Ghostbusters, which I saw that wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed that last Ghostbusters. Frozen Planet or whatever. Frozen,
yeah, Frozen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that. Demon Slayer costume, okay. Avatar, really grown man. Mike Myers. Mike Myers coveralls. They don't have the Mike Myers mask, and so this guy just looks like he's working in an auto shop. So, auto mechanic, or Mike Myers if you have the mask. So there you go. Are you dressing up at all tomorrow for Halloween?
Well, I looked at my own list of Google Trends, and I might be this one, since apparently this is 11th, and I kind of can't believe it. A Chipotle burrito.
Really?
Yeah. Just, you dress up as a Chipotle burrito. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone dress up in that.
Do not wear that around your high friends. That will end horribly. Oh, my God, man. It's my dream come true. I'm going to make sweet love to that burrito. That's how it's going to end. I mean, there's going to be police involved or biting. All
right, so no Chipotle burrito for me.
Probably not. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. In Minnesota, the numbers are come in. The Democrats are kind of dominating the money-wise. A press release issue. And one of the truth is, this tells you where our world is today. There are a lot of Republicans who just vote Republican. They don't care. They could put the world's worst human being as the candidate. As long as the R is next to its name, they will vote for it. This is one of the reasons why the Democrats have to raise and have to spend as much money as they do, is because you have half the voting bloc brainwashed into voting for even the worst of candidates. And I can say this. I'll give you an example. I have talked about Angie Craig and the fact I'm not in the Minnesota 2nd. I'm in the Minnesota 3rd Congressional District. But every morning I go work out, her ads are on there, and it's the anti-Democrat Democrat. And that's what she feels like she has to do to win her district. Fine. But like I said, to win a few moderate Republicans, you're risking alienating a lot of Democrats. And if that's the path you want to go, that's the path you want to go. Like I said, half the time I look at these ads now, I say to myself, are we about to get the press the press meeting, where a press briefing where she basically says, the Democratic Party's left me. I'm switching parties. I don't know. But I will say that I think that I can say to myself that I would have if I was in the Minnesota 2nd District, I don't know. That would be a tough race for me to just close my eyes, plug my nose, and vote. I would. Because at the bare minimum for me, being a Democrat is an important thing. I felt the same way than Colin Peterson when he's up in 7. If I was up in the 7th congressional district, that dude wasn't a Democrat. He was a moderate Republican. And I understand he resonated in that district, but if I was a Democrat, I don't know if I'd vote for him. And the reason why is because I like my Democrats being Democrats. Tim Walz, Kamala Harris, Democrats being Democrats. So I can sit there and I can say, you know what, I am not just a paintbrush that paints this way. I just don't. But Republicans, this is one of the things that they do is they blindly vote. And if you're a fool if you don't think that Royce White's going to get a lot more votes than you'd ever imagine he would. Or those judicial candidates. And by God, I was looking at Naomi Kritzler's blog, and you look at those judicial candidates, the people that are running against the incumbents, talk about guys that are unqualified, but they're going to get close because they're out there saying, I'm really the Republican candidate. So, a press release issued this week by the Minnesota House Republican campaign arm says a lot about the 2024 race at control of the House, with the DFL holding a narrow advantage and with just a dozen or so races that are truly up for grabs. The record funds are being spent this election. Republicans have the momentum and resources heading into the final stretch to win the majority and restore balance in Minnesota, says House Minority Leader Lisa DeMuth. In a release, how many resources? The House Republican Campaign Committee has raised $2.7 million this year on top of the $700,000 it carried over from 2023. That's more than $800,000 over the previous record set in 2018. While it says a lot about the House GOP efforts, it says more about the financial imbalance between the parties in Minnesota. DeMuth's counterpart, the DFL House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, presides over a campaign fund raised $9.2 million. $9.2 million in 2024 and brought $1.25 million in from the last year. The House DFL has more money in the bank, $3.6 million, than the House GOP has raised in 2 years, according to the campaign's final state campaign finance board reports posted this week. You probably want to go spend that. I mean, it's great you got $3 million in the bank, but I'm sure that there are some House candidates you can go and help. So write some checks, get some ads on the air. Some of those battleground districts to help tell the story. Jeff Brand, DFLer from St. Peter, is defending his seat against the GOP challenger Erica Schwartz. The House DFL caucus has already spent $381,000 helping Brand, either by sending positive messages about him or negative messages about Schwartz. The GOP now knows how important that race is, but has so far only spent $95,000 in District 18A. In District 3B, and we talked about Natalie Zelaznicker. She's the representative, a Republican up in 3B. She's defending her seat she took from the DFL 2 years ago by 33 votes. She's been challenged by former Judge Mark Munger. The House GOP has spent $106,000. The DFL $304,000. Money comes from unions, the House DFL candidates with less competitive races, and from national funders. But we know that Minnesota is one of just a handful of states where legislative chambers are competitive. The PAC for Minnesota's Future, funded primarily by New York donor Barry Munger, gave the House DFL $1.4 million. The Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee has also given $1.15 million. The House DFL has not only been able to expand their map, investing in districts that are either already relatively safe for their candidates or not in the most list of vulnerable GOP seats, they have been able to spend in ways unthought of in later years. NPR's Capitol Report said that Brand is benefiting from broadcast TV ads, while more targetable cable ads, not uncommon in legislative races. The geographic breadth of the broadcast station means ads are more expensive and can reach a lot, are more expensive and can reach a lot of voters outside the district. The funding mismatch would be troublesome enough for the GOP campaigns, if not for the caucuses, were the only sources of money in Minnesota House elections. They are not. The DFL party is a financial engine that pays up for much of the campaign infrastructure around the state, and the series of DFL-appointed political funds and potent sets of independent expenditure committees that gave DFL candidates and causes makes this mismatch even more obvious. So, it's basically the DFL is pantsing these guys as far as money goes. Now, I will say this. There are some things, I think, in those, and I know that some of this money doesn't cross over to other things, but I think that there was a missed opportunity by the DFL to run ads in every Republican House district saying they voted against the infrastructure bill, and you should have been much more aggressive on that, as opposed to allowing Stauber and others to basically, dictate the narrative of that. I think that was a massive mistake, and I think you had the potential of having 6 of the U.S. House seats get into the Democrats' hands. I think you had the potential there, and I think you weren't thinking long game. I also will say that the Senate race, because the Republican there, the one Senate race where Ann Johnson Stewart's running, the Republican there is fairly wealthy and is actually outspending Ann Johnson Stewart in the West Metro to pick up that Senate seat. You probably want to get some money into that campaign immediately to make sure that that stays there, because it becomes a very different state if all of a sudden that one seat flips to the Republicans. That all being said, I think what we're seeing here is that the enthusiasm is definitively more on the Democrat side, and minor issues of where I would have spent money versus where they spent money. Like I said, you got $3.6 million in the bank. Chop, chop, write some checks, man. This is not about basically making sure you have a big celebration party. We want to win. We can pass on the party as long as you hold the Minnesota House, maybe even expand it out. You hold the Minnesota Senate. Maybe you pick up one or two of the House races, and the state goes strongly for Klobuchar and for Harris. Then, that's money well spent. You don't need to get a chocolate fountain at the banquet, okay? I feel very positive about how things are going right now. And like I said, I talked with Stein, I really do honestly see a potential landslide coming through, that it's actually going to be a bigger beating than Biden gave Trump, that it's actually going to be bigger. That being said, no one sits this one out. No one can sit this one out. And I said this when Trump was elected, it will take 2 decades of every Democrat showing up for every election for them to basically be able to offset the 3 Supreme Court justices that were put on that court. Trust me, if Harris wins, Alito and Thomas are not leaving. They will not leave. If Harris wins again in a re-election in 2028, they will not win. They will not leave. They will stay as long as they can. In 2032, if the Democrats win, they will try to stay on there. I freaking in the iron lung at that point, and try to stay on that court, because the whole goal right now is to outlast the Democratic winners. That's their whole goal. And yeah, I know there are some Democrats out there that say maybe we should expand the number of seats on the Supreme Court, because the president can do that. Actually, add 5 seats, easy, done. Or it would be an even number amount of seats, so you'd have to have an odd number of justices. So he could add 4 seats. He could add 6 seats. He could do that, and then just appoint a bunch of Democrats and tell you, okay, enough's enough. But you got to show up. Right now, it doesn't matter if there's an issue that is not being addressed. It does. I'm not saying there aren't some things that are bugging me, but at the same time, I'm looking at what's at the other side of the frickin' aisle. And my God, these elections, there is no debate. Everyone votes. So please, get out and vote. We'll take a break. Come on back. 952-946-6205. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on your Wednesday. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. So we really need to still talk a little bit about what exactly happened here in Minneapolis with the shooting of David Maturi and the way that the police, frankly, did not deal with Sawchuk, the shooter, probably in a way that's getting a lot of eyebrows raised. Leaders are investigating why it took the department months to arrest a man that prosecutors say threatened his neighbor repeatedly before shooting him. Okay, so I wanted to a point, I want to step back and say, from the police point of view, as long as you're not a dingus and say, hey, maybe you should move. That's being a dingus, police officers. You shouldn't be doing that. But if you get, hey, we got a neighbor over here who's having a problem, who's threatening us. Okay, let me go talk to the neighbor. Let me go talk to them. Okay, guys, let's try to all get along. Everyone calm down. Let's not get restraining orders. Let's not do this. Let's try to find a mediation. All right, let's try to work together. I get that. The second time, oh, guys, we're having a problem again here. What's going on? All right. Well, is there a way we can find a solution to this? Well, not really. Well, try to be, something, try to get along and everything like this. The third time it happens, there should actually be, I think, a little bit more of a police investigation. And at that point, a determination needs to be made if one of the individuals, such as in this case, is actually starting to get into the threatening the other side category. That didn't seem to happen here. And I'm a little wary of that. Not only that, but you had a man shoot another man in the city. I don't care if he might have had guns in there, and I don't want to see cops shot. I don't want to see anyone shot, frankly. But at the same time, the fact that you guys kind of sat there and just, well, maybe he'll come out eventually, that wasn't the right solution. It just wasn't. The non-fatal shooting of David Venturi last week, on Wednesday night, for the dilemma police face as they navigate pressure to use less violent tactics while maintaining public safety in communities. Some critics point to the incident's racial implications, questioning why the department didn't act more urgently to help a black man, Venturi, after he reported escalating friends from his white neighbor, John Sawchuk. MTD is already facing court oversight on the historical racist bias. In a statement, the chief pledged to put a full post-incident review, calling it "at least we can do" in the ongoing effort to become the department that community demands and deserves. O'Hara publicly apologized to Venturi, who is out of the hospital, telling reporters Sunday the police did not act urgently enough. Agreed. Since February, Venturi, and by the way, can I say this once again? I think mistakes were made. I don't necessarily think they were made by the chief, but I think the chief, who initially bobbled the response, I think his tone has been actually, I like the chief's response now, apologizing and saying no, because that seems to tell me at least he sees not only should we not be overly aggressive with the black community, but maybe we shouldn't be so hands-off, cuddly-feely, touchy-feely with the white community that sometimes there are times we need to be more aggressive with the white community, which we were not here. And they should have been. Since February, Venturi had called police dozens of times. You see, this is the problem. Dozens of times. At that point, someone should have intervened. Threatening behavior by Sawchuk, who had a history of mental illness. Once again, and I can make the argument, the fact that immediately after this shooting took place, people were describing mental illness. Well, that's fine, but that's not something you ever say when it's a black person who might have a history of mental illness. You don't ever say that. He was out of control. And it might be after he's been arrested and being charged, oh, there's a history of mental illness here. But it's never up front from the beginning of when you're describing it when it's a black person or a Native American person. The mental health issue is something that is only saved for white suspects. And he might actually have mental health issues. That's fine. But the way so quickly he's got mental health issues, so what are we supposed to do? Well, like I said, there's a lot of here that screams double standard. Hoping to avoid an armed confrontation, police responded as they had months with surveillance patrol on the block, hoping to catch Sawchuk outside his home. He never emerged. Because he knew if he did, he'd be arrested because he shot somebody. Which means that, tough or not, you need to go in there. And once again, what happened? When you started busting windows and say, we're going to gash you out of here, then all of a sudden he quickly surrendered. You allowed him, as the violent criminal, to basically control the situation, and you shouldn't have done that. He has 3 active arrest warrants against him, including for threats against Venturi. On Friday, 2 days after the shooting, Sawchuk was still free, prompting several city council members to demand his arrest. The Mayor Fry backed O'Hara and accused the city council. Well, once again, I don't think O'Hara is. I think that he's operating differently. Fry basically says this was right. You can't have it both ways, saying the officers need to de-escalate tense situations, then simultaneously saying the officers need to burst through the door, guns blazing, with a SWAT team. Well, they weren't if it was days later, dude. that is a slow crawl if there ever was one. And if I can also say, if this is what happens the next time there's a black suspect, at least we can say you're doing it honestly. But if the next time there's a black suspect and you kick the door in and you don't talk about mental health issues and you wait a long time, if you do that and then say, hey, you guys were so upset that we waited so long, so we didn't do it this time, when it's the black suspect, I understand you're trying to fix this, but if anything this shows us is it shows us how damaged the community has been by the past incarnations of this police department. And I know O'Hara is trying to fix these things, and I got faith in Chief O'Hara. I actually do. But, there's going to be a lot of second guessing on this stuff. And where the onus comes is this, Mayor Fry and Chief O'Hara, when it is a black person and they're staying outside their house, are you kicking open a door and your guns are blazing, or are you going to sit there and say, we'll give them 3 days to come on out, and at that point we'll tell them we're going to gas them, and if then they don't come out, we'll go in. Then at least you're doing it equally. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Greg Bakun joins us when we do return to talk about his Halloween extravaganza. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on your Wednesday. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. Greg Bakun has got the Ghost Box Radio Show at 10 p.m. right here on AM 950. And every Halloween, for some reason, he decides, I want to go find ghosts. Not something I would do, but that's kind of his vibe. He has got his show coming up here tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. till 11 p.m. It's Ghost Box Radio Halloween special on Thursday night on your Halloween. And Greg Bakun is kind enough to join us to talk about what he expects to find. Hey, Greg.
Matt, how are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, man. By the way, fantastic show. And if you're not listening to Ghost Box Radio, I would say more Sasquatches, but you're your own cat, man. You can do whatever you want. Greg Bakun, of course, Ghost Box Radio, 10 p.m. weeknights here on AM 950, and you can podcast it on all your favorite podcast spots. You should be doing that. It's good stuff. So Brett was telling me last year, you did get some spooky stuff last year, like flickering lights and stuff.
We sure did. We got a lot of stuff. We were over at the Grand Garage last year, and then there was a point during the evening that someone who I work with quite a bit on the show, her name's Shar, she said, can you send something over to Adam at the station and let some of his equipment go off over where you are right now, actually, and it did.
This station is a fine-tuned machine. I don't know if it's put together on bubblegum and prayers at this point. Are we sure we want the spirit world to try to take this station down? I mean, we have a hard enough time keeping this up and going as it is, right, man?
I think we need all the help we can get. I mean, I think that if they have a way of putting some wires together and stuff, I don't think we're in a position to turn them away, quite frankly.
We should get them, if they could deliver a steak sandwich or a pizza. I mean, that's the kind of spirit I like. It's like,
right.
How about some delicious food we could give out there? I was at the Wabasha Street Caves, by the way. Nice. I was over there on Saturday. We had the kids, and they'd never been, so I went back in there. And of course, a nice little touch of a Minneapolis or St. Paul gangster lore. And of course, they said it's haunted. But as they say it's haunted, then they describe the fact that, and by the way, we filmed a Kevin Garnett sneaker ad here. I'm like, okay, all right, you just took away any of the haunting stuff, just went away. Garnett was in this place, and apparently they still have the basketball hoop they used in the ad, where apparently, I guess it was Garnett was like Batman in his Bat Cave, and someone called out with a basketball emergency, and so he sped off to go help out. That was the thing. I think that sometimes you can, if you're trying to put the scare in people, you want to make sure you hone your tour a little bit, because that kind of took away a little bit of the creepiness.
I don't know. I think that it was kind of more. It has to be more bittersweet of Ghosts of Timberwolves Past going on there, of like the stuff that we haven't seen in quite some time. So
The draft picks that have failed
Right.
us.
They all converge over at Wabasha Street Caves, and guess you didn't know that. Huh?
You had a 3 pick, and that's who you took. There is one cool thing about that. Apparently, so back in the day, they must have had some flooding in St. Paul down there, and they just took all the houses and everything that were damaged and just plowed them into some of the caves. And
Yep.
she showed a flashlight down one of them and just stacked to the ceiling with tires and wood. And I was like, at some point, someone should go through there and try to see what's actually in there. But that is just that's kind of creepy on itself.
It's quite the place, and it is very, very haunted. And I mean, when you said that you got in there, my little claw-like hands were like moving in anticipation, like how can we get in there? You know, I mean that's all I think about these places. These places aren't places for me to visit; they're places for me to investigate now. And so when someone says I was here, I'm like, and can I get in too, please? You know, it's. I've lost all form of humanity, quite frankly.
Well, I mean, we need to maybe next year's. We should talk to the Wabasha Street Cave people.
That'd be nice, yeah.
That would be cool. I mean, they did talk about a few murders. You know, mobster's going to mobster. You know, that sort of thing. That's maybe for a future thing. Where are you headed this year for your great spookathon?
So, 3 years clearly, or 3, it sometimes feels like it, right, man? And you do the show every day. But 3 hours didn't seem like enough last year, I guess. So we are going 4 hours. I'm sure we're very popular with the people who listen to Primetime AM 950 right at the end of a political, campaign year, as we're going to take all your shows off the air and we're going to put on 4 hours of
more power to you. Dear Lord, even I'm tired of it at this point, man. So no, 4 hours of Ghost on Halloween sounds absolutely spectacular.
Right? I mean, I hope so. And we're going to be over at the 300 Clifton Mansion in downtown Minneapolis over by Loring Park. This place, Matt, this place is so beautiful. It is so, I mean, like, I wonder, I step in there and I assume someone's going to come out of like a cupboard or something and ask me to leave because, I dress like this. And this place is phenomenal. They Norman and John, who also run the Minneapolis Trolley Tours, they took the time and they rebuilt this mansion and brought it back to basically what it looked like in 1906 during its heyday of being this mansion that had servants and all sorts of very ornate sort of procedures and stuff, just as you would see like in Downton Abbey or Upstairs, Downstairs. And this place has at least one noted death that is, it's not questionable, but it's more of like very unfortunate. There's been other deaths in there as well. And so we're going to go there. We're doing this 4-hour tour of programming, but then we also have people I work with. They're in the mansion on the top 2 floors, and we're inviting people to get tickets and go in this mansion and do the investigation with them. And during our 4-hour broadcast, we're going to cut to these investigations and see what people are feeling, experiencing, if they've picked up anything. It's going to be amazing.
So, okay, let's go back to the dead body.
Let's do that.
And I don't want to. Well, first of all, when was the house built? Do you know what year it was built?
See, I was looking that up because everything points to 1906, but I actually think it's older than that. I think 1906 was when Eugene Carpenter, he had the house. And Eugene is actually very important, Matt, because he is one of the people who was able to set up the Minneapolis Institute of Art.
Okay.
So and with that, it helped to establish the house on the National Register as well.
And I agree with you. There, I mean, it might not have been that house there, but something was there because by Loring Park, that was all really about 1880s, 1890s. That was all being developed out at that point. Now, it could have been an empty lot that just no one developed on, but I mean, I bet you're right. I bet you it was maybe a little bit older.
I think so. And if you do the Minneapolis Trolley Tour, that starts at the mansion. They will take you around literally like a 3-block, 4 or 5 block area and start the tour with all these mansions that are nearby, like the Pillsbury Mansion and other mansions that they have haunted activity that they've talked about, and they walk through all that. So it's this really wonderful, like, they're very, very well aware of the area, and they're also very well aware of the history of that area, and this tour actually goes as far up as St. Anthony, Maine.
Okay.
So it's, if you like spooks, if you like history, this is quite the twosome between the mansion and the tour.
Does the Pillsbury ghost kind of advise, try my cake flour? I mean, is that it?
What they don't talk about is actually the Pillsbury Doughboy,
Yes,
and so you can hear haunted.
But if you come across the ghost, it's ghost busting right into the old belly there. I think you're going to be safe there, and you'll get some pizza rolls or something like that. All right, so the house comes from that age. There's a lot of other mansions over there. Let's get to the dead body. Okay, so did the person fall down the stairs? How does the person die here in the mansion?
So there's two I know for sure. One did fall down the stairs.
Two? I mean, I got none in my house, thank God. I mean, how do you get two going down in one place? All right, never mind. Okay.
I mean, is your house built in 1906? I mean, if it is, maybe.
I don't think a lot of people. I mean, is that a prerequisite? I don't want to buy a house that's got. All right, let me tell you about the death count here. I mean, no, I don't need to.
No.
All right, so with the two dead bodies, let's hear the details, some details here, because I know you're going to share more tomorrow night.
Well, I mean, so like one I know, like the matriarch of the house, and she was actually one that refused electricity. She wasn't really a big fan of it. So like in their dining room, she would make it so that even into the late 1940s, early 1950s, she demanded that in the dining room there's nothing electrical in there, no electric lights or anything. Everything was candle lit. So she was served dinner this way, but she ended up, if I'm not mistaken, falling down the stairs at one point and breaking her neck. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Well, okay, if you want to reach with her.
It's a nice looking staircase, though.
Okay, well, don't look at it too closely as you're going down. You don't want to lose your step. So, okay, I got an idea here. If she doesn't like electricity, I've got like a 1990 boombox. You could take that and go into the dining room, just kind of put some music. Look at me, I'm using electricity. You could. Do you think that would get a response?
We have found that she doesn't like to be mocked. Let's put it that way. So
this is why you can't take me. You can't take me to these things because I'd be like, oh no, my toothbrush. It's just
nope. You would not be very, very popular, and you got to be careful because sometimes if you make them angry enough, they will take it out on you.
Well,
They will, and I don't think she will. I'm not trying to see. Now you're trapping me, making people think they're going to get hurt tomorrow.
No, you're not. No, but you don't want to talk. I mean, I am joking. I am making jokes. This is what I do for a living. This is why Greg has told me no, I can't go. But because he wants to do it. Well, yeah, true. I mean, it's like I dress worse than you, man, dude. Just trust me. But. You want to go and find the serious, and you don't need Johnny Jokester showing up here to kind of ruin your vibe. I think there has to be a healthy balance of that. If you come in and just like, hey, and you're just like, basically doing what you said you're going to do, then there does become about that. But you can't take it so seriously as well, where it just like. You can't have any fun with it because we have found, speaking with spirits, that they want to have fun as well. They don't want to be asked, hey, when did you die? Or how does it feel to be dead? Those are dumb questions, quite frankly. I much rather ask, do you like T-bone steaks? Stuff like that. And you catch Ray Gun at the Olympics,
Right. Oh, God. I mean, I'm sure that helped make their decision to cross over at that point. But the thing is also is we'll just, to your point, sometimes if we're not getting any activity, we'll just play some music and suddenly stuff will start going off after a while because it's starting to draw spirits in. They don't want to be looked like as museum pieces. They want to be able to interact if they're able to.
Now put in some good blues, man. I mean, seriously, it's the classic
Absolutely.
blues. Everyone loves the classic blues, man. I mean, well, maybe not, Susie Candle, but I mean, everyone else probably. You can't take me, man. I'd be getting you guys into so much trouble. I mean, it's like
I'm surprised you knew her name was Susie. That's creepy.
Well, I didn't. I'm just kidding. It's not. Okay. The worst part about me is if I got them to actually like punch you, I'd keep doing it to see how long I could get them to do it. So don't, whatever you do, don't punch Greg again.
But here's some more of my brand of music to play. Yeah, I see how that works.
All right, so you will kind of sometimes play some music in this. What other things are you going to do? How are you going to try to communicate with these spirits?
We have a lot of different we have a lot of different devices and stuff, but then most of the people who are doing the investigation, that's part of the team that I brought in, they're all psychic mediums. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be able to also tell what's happening at the same time. You have this equipment, and what we would really like to see happen is what they say is validated by the equipment, where it's like some kind of word is said and it shows up on the screen on a piece of equipment, or we hear it in some other way, or when we say something, a light goes off to validate it. That's the kind of thing that we would love to see happen. Okay. Which kind of happened last year when we asked the equipment to go off at the station.
Let's not take the station down. I think the station, I'm a little more concerned. I mean, I'm not saying there's ghosts here, but man, it's like any radio station that exists on this planet. It's been put together for 60 years on bubblegums and prayers. No one knows how the thing operates. We just hope it stays on the air. So that's every radio station in the country. Have the mediums ever? Okay, so you know of 2 people who have died there. How often is it you will go into a house and all of a sudden, all right, we got someone new here. This is not anyone we know about. How often does that happen?
Actually, quite a bit. And one of the reasons why that happens, if you're really open to spirit communication, we call that being like a beacon, where to the spirit, you're just kind of like shiny and bright, and that like moths to the flame, they come to you because often they don't have the opportunity to speak to anybody. So that's in that case, then you start getting spirits to come in who might have something to say. They might just want your attention or something. So you get them, and they have nothing to do with the place that you're in, and that's okay. But it is sometimes like trying to decipher and maybe even pull away a couple layers of like who is really here and what is it that they're trying to tell us, that sort of thing.
What do they think about the lack of a face mask penalty on the Rams' last Vikings game? I mean, ask that. Just see what they think about it. I mean, I'm sure they saw it because we all saw it. The refs didn't see it, but I'm sure the ghosts saw it as well, for goodness sakes.
Well, and those are the type of questions we would ask, in a sense, because it's like, it's better than asking, like we said, better than asking, like, what color was your coffin? Stuff like that. It's like, let's have it be fun. And they might just respond like, I don't know, or no response or whatever, but it's better to have fun with it than not.
Well, I mean, exactly, because, if you said, how many times did you bunk your head rolling down the stairs, Grandma? Imagine that's okay, whoa. He's like, why don't you just, did you ever listen to the Beach Boys? I mean, Pet Sounds was a good album, man. Totally. And it is like, what was your favorite type of music at the time? What is it? And then you maybe find that type of music. Maybe you go into it knowing like in, 1930, this was a popular song, and you play it, and then you see if you get responses from it. It's what we call a trigger object. You cannot take me in there. I'm sorry. I would not be able to control myself. I was like, what, I'm sorry. Every joke I'm coming up with, I could not say. So I'm going to leave it to you. You're the professional. I'm just the trained chimp here. So I'll stay out of it.
No, it's totally. I mean, it's but it is fun. I mean, it is fun. And tomorrow night, if you go out to the mansion, there's more than just the investigation going on too. It's going to be like a big party out there. Okay. It's going to be other things to do other than the investigation. You got trolley rides. You got another psychic medium. You got me. I mean. Still don't let that stop anyone.
All right.
But, and then you have, I think there's going to be some music and maybe some food out there. So it's going to be a great time.
You should go out there just to talk to Greg. Seriously, though. Greg is absolutely a hoot on this stuff, and he knows his stuff. So if you're not like me, a jackass, and you want to find out more about ghosts and what's going on in this mansion, you need to go out there and talk to Greg because he'll actually set you straight. So if they want to come out to the event tomorrow night, how do they do that?
So you can go to the mansion, but I think you're better set by going to MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com/Halloween. And there you're going to find that you can get tickets. The tickets start at $35. And that's to be able to be on the massive grounds and get some of the free stuff like my broadcast. And we're giving away stuff tomorrow as well during the broadcast. But then you can also sign up for trolley tours, psychic readings, our paranormal investigation. I'm not going to be in the investigation. I'm going to be in the carriage house, kind of going from place to place. And we're doing our internet panel show called Myth or Mystery tomorrow night as well, which is a lot of fun. So there's just a lot of stuff that's happening tomorrow that's just beyond the investigation.
And once again, that's Minneapolis Trolley Tours. Go there. There's going to be the link to that. I'll find that, and I'll get that posted up on the socials a little bit later on. And then, of course, just listen tomorrow night, because if you don't want to go on out there because you got the kiddos coming through with the trick-or-treating, you want to stay at home, you can listen to AM 950 throughout the evening as you'll be out there from, once again, 7 to 11?
7 to 11, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait.
Ask them what their favorite candy bar is. They've got
right?
Did you really like Spice Drops? I mean, those weren't good. I mean,
right?
we got Reese's now. They're a lot better.
Are you jealous of what we are able to eat for Halloween now?
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Oh,
totally.
Why is Mr. Good Bar the most underrated candy bar? Ask them that. I mean, stuff like that. It is actually one that I enjoy quite a bit during Halloween. Greg Bakun, once again, live tomorrow night here on Halloween, 7 to 11. And, he's right. Take a break from the freaking politics and go and just listen to this and enjoy this on your Halloween night. Greg, all my best. Come back alive, my friend. And
Thank you.
thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Greg Bakun, we'll take a break, wrap the show when we come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Wednesday. I would be asking the ghost, so does the oak or the maple hurt more when you fall down the stairs? Just stuff like that. I would be getting Greg in so much trouble with these ghosts. I could not go. But Bakun is the perfect guy to send out there, not me. I'm a chuckle nut. Anyway, that's live once again tomorrow. Bakun live, 7 to 11, and you can go on out there and join that. That's at the My Trolley Tours. Find that link. I'll post the link on social media a little bit later on. Native Roots Radio is up next. You have a wonderful rest of your day. We're back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.